Are you nervous about your AIMA appointment? If you're moving to Portugal, I bet you are. You don't know how it's going to go, whether the agent will speak English, what happens if you don't understand. But let me tell you about one of my students, Shaman. She just had her appointment and had been dreading it for weeks, but she said herself it couldn't have gone better. The agent spoke Portuguese with her the whole time and helped her through the process, and she walked out completely sorted. And the best part? She's not completely fluent in Portuguese. She just learned the right things to say at the right time before she went there. And that is exactly what I am going to share with you today. I am going to give you the exact phrases that you are going to need and some important tips to help you feel prepared, stay calm, and to get through your appointment. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. Portuguese bureaucracy can be an absolute nightmare if you don't know what to expect. I published this video about my experience preparing for my wedding, and yes, it actually brought me to tears. And that's as somebody who is perfectly confident and capable in Portuguese. So really, if you have a bad day, it can happen to anyone. So do not skip any of this video and let's get into what you need to know. So there is one word that matters most. Before we even get to the appointment itself, I want to give you this word that is very important in the whole process that one of my students drew my attention to because it seems like a bit of a false friend. And that word is deferido. Now, when your residency is approved or when your renewal goes through, that is the word that you are looking for, and it simply means granted. So if you see deferido sitting next to your name, it means that you have been approved. And this is where English speakers may get confused because it sounds like the word deferred, which means if something is put off or if it has been delayed. But I want you to know before we kick off, that's not what it means. And that is actually the word you're looking for in this process. So let's get into what the actual day will look like. You will be given a set appointment time. The Portuguese word for appointment is marcação. Marcação. So we need to get that sound in there, and that C, because it has a little beard, it's a S. So even though you've got a time slot, don't expect to be seen right on the dot. You will usually wait a while, and a bit of a queue is normal, so go in feeling relaxed about that. Some of my students showed up quite early and had to wait outside until they were called, so be on time but not super early. So when you arrive, a lot of these officers will need you to take a senha. This is something I covered in my recent video about the supermarket, and it actually applies in lots of places in Portugal, whether it's a government office or the post office or even the supermarket. We have these little ticket machines, and that's where you're going to take a number, okay? So this is called a senha. So then all you have to do is wait for your little number to come up on the screen. It's a quite boring game of bingo. So when your number comes up, you will walk over and sit down at the desk. Now, this one small thing will make a very big difference. Try to open in Portuguese and use as much Portuguese as you can. You can always switch back to English for anything you're not sure about or didn't catch, and that is fine. But leading in Portuguese, even just a little, is really gonna set the tone. So be polite, be patient, and have a go. So remember, we always need a greeting if we're going to be polite in Portuguese. So it can be bom dia or boa tarde, depending on whether it's morning or afternoon. And the way you're going to address people, we wanted to keep it super polite, okay? So if you're speaking to a man, you're going to refer to him as senhor. And if you're speaking to a woman, you're going to refer to her as senhora. Again, it all just sets the right tone for things being sorted. Remember, these people are working in pretty stressful offices, so anything you can do to be kind and happy will go a long way if you get the right person. So to open up, you can simply say Tenho uma marcação, which means I have an appointment. Tenho uma marcação. If you're there for a renewal, you can say Venho renovar o meu título de residência. Now this is pretty tricky, so let's break this down a little bit. Let's look at the verb for renew. There's two things I want you to think about here, and they both relate to the R. The first thing is it begins with an R. So this means we're going to have to make a R or a R sound, whichever you find easier to make. The second thing we need to think about is the R at the end. Now, we're not going to make a sound here. Renovar. We don't want to hear that in Portuguese. We want to hear a tapped R instead. And that sounds like this. R, R. This is just your tongue hitting the top of your mouth, okay? So it should sound like this. Renovar, renovar. We're also putting the stress on the end of that word because it ends in an R, and that's one of the exceptions to the rule, okay? When a word ends in R, we put the stress at the end. The next word we probably want to look at is residência. Again, it begins with an R, so we've learned what we need to do. We need to make a ch or a r. I personally do the ch. Next, you can see that there is an accent above the E. It looks like a little hat. And that tells me two things. Number one, this is where I need to put the stress. Whenever a word has an accent, that's where the stress is going to go. It overrides all the other rules. But also because it's a little hat and not a line going upwards, it's not going to be an open E, it's going to be a more closed E, okay? Residência. If you want more tips and tricks on pronunciation and where to put the stress and all of those good things, I have lots of videos like that on the channel. You could check out this playlist, or you can get my free pronunciation guide, which is designed to help you master 7 of the trickiest sounds in European Portuguese. The R is one of them, and you can grab it in the description below. Now, I need to give you some phrases for what to say when you don't understand, because when they start going through the paperwork and everything, there's probably going to be plenty of moments where you don't catch what's been said, and that's normal. So let me give you a safety net. The main one for I'm sorry I didn't understand is Desculpe, não percebi. Desculpe, não percebi. Let's break that down a little bit too. So the first word, I really want you to look at two things. I want you to look at the S and the E at the end. That S is going to be a sh because we go vowel S consonant, and that's one of the rules for making a sh when we see an S. And we also want to make sure that that E on the end is nice and closed. It almost feels like you swallowed it into your throat, okay? Desculpe, desculpe. Then we have a nice ow in now. And then in this final word, the main thing I want you to remember is that that C is a S sound. Whenever we have CE or CI in Portuguese, we make a K into a S. So this final word is percebi, percebi. Desculpe, não percebi. If the problem is that they are going too fast, you can try this one. Podia falar mais devagar, se faz favor. Podia falar mais devagar, se faz favor. The key word here is devagar, and that is the one that means slow. So even if you can only think of the words mais devagar, that might also help. If the problem is you just need to hear whatever was said one more time, you can use this. Podia repetir, se faz favor. Podia repetir, se faz favor. Hopefully you are getting the hang of those R's right now. You can see that that word repeat is another word beginning with an R. So we're going to use a R or a R. One more thing, if you are really not feeling confident, of course you can take somebody with you who speaks Portuguese, whether it's a lawyer or just a friend. You don't necessarily need to do it, but plenty of students of mine have done it rather than trying to be completely on their own. Because on a stressful day, just having someone with you can take the pressure off. Okay, so a big chunk of the appointment is simply handing over your documents, and this is the bit I really want you to get right. So here's my number one tip. Bring everything, every letter, every form, every document they have ever sent you. Take it all in one folder because they will almost always ask for something that you weren't expecting, and you don't want to be caught short and have to come back. So literally just take your life with you. This was one of the main tips I also gave in this video about how to handle bureaucracy in Portugal. You can check that out as well if you're interested. But this is the main thing that I have learned over the years. We literally just went to open a new bank account and my husband was like, right, I'm taking a whole folder. I'm not having to come back another day. I want to have everything. A nice simple phrase you can use when you pass something across the desk is Aqui, tem. Aqui, tem. It just means here you have it. So if you want to say this correctly, we really want to pay attention to the nasal sound at the end of tem, tem. This is happening because that word ends in an M, and in Portuguese, it tells us we need to nasalize the vowel that goes before the M. So the tip I give to my students is chop off the M and put an NG on there instead. Just like words like sing, thing, bring in English, that's the closest we're going to get to that sound, okay? So one more time, have a practice. Aqui, tem. Aqui, tem. A simple phrase that could make you really sound like you know your Portuguese. If they do ask for something you don't have, don't panic. Just say, não tenho esse documento. Não tenho esse documento. I don't have that document. So while they're going through it all, they will usually ask you to confirm where you live. The word for your address is morada. So you can say, a minha morada é, and then give your address. A minha morada é. Another important word you might need is formulário. Formulário. This just means a form that you may need to fill in or simply sign. Look out for what I said about accents, right? Formulário. The accent's on the A, so that's where the stress is going. So after your documents are sorted, they will take your biometrics, and the good news is this doesn't really need any Portuguese at all. They will point the camera and show you where to put your fingers, and you just follow along. A simple está bem, which means like, is that okay? Or assim, which means like this. That is all you really need. So you can see how I put another nasal sound on the end of assim. That's because it's another word that ends in an M, so it really needs a nasal vowel before the M. And all the way through, don't forget your manners. It's so simple but so easily overlooked. Se faz favor, meaning please, and obrigado or obrigada, depending whether you're a male or female, can really go a long way here. And that's the hard part done. So right at the end, you will get a paper document. Hold on to that one because it's the legal proof while you wait for your actual card to arrive via the post. And this is your moment to thank them properly. You can give it a nice muito obrigada if you're a woman, or muito obrigado if you are a man. I also have this video on ways to thank people, but they're probably a bit over the top, and this is all you need for this scenario. If you want to finish on a really lovely Portuguese note, you could say boa continuação. Boa continuação. It's just a nice way of saying have a good rest of your day. It's a very long word, so let's break it down. Boa continuação. Continuação. Boa continuação. Now, you may have noticed that this sounds like continuation in English, and that literally is what we are doing here. We are taking the word continuation and we're adding the sound. We actually do this a lot in Portuguese, where you can switch one ending in English for one ending in Portuguese. So words like station become estação in Portuguese. I have a whole video on that here as well. So you probably actually know a lot more words in Portuguese than you think you do. So that's also a good way to remember it. The phrase is good continuation. That's what I'm going to say. Boa continuação. And that's it. That is the whole appointment, start to finish, and the exact Portuguese phrases you need to carry you through it. Like I said at the start, you really don't need to be fluent. You just need to use the right words in the right moment. Now, if you want to go beyond these phrases and actually learn the essential grammar, understand fast spoken Portuguese, and fix your pronunciation, you really should check out my free 60-minute class for beginners called Speak Portuguese Like a Pro. We cover everything you need to start speaking with confidence, and you can find the link right at the top of the description down below. And if you're now thinking, okay, that's great, I survived my AIMA appointment, but how could I survive a whole day in Portugal? Well, you could check out this video next that will teach you the exact phrases that you need to survive your first day in Portugal.